Part two of addressing racism, because part two has to actually address it. Where part one, I just went off on a major tangent and never hit my point. So let me hit my point now. Excuse me. I touched on my point, but I never hit the point. So now I'm going to hit the point because it needs to be addressed. It has to be done, and now I need to do it. We people, blacks, whites, Native Americans, Asians of all other sorts. In fact, just let's go with people. Let's leave ethnicities out for a minute. In America, the reason why racism is such a big problem is because, as I started in the other videos, that none of us are brave enough to sit down and confront the problem. I touched on some stereotypes in the other video, so let me touch on these stereotypes one more time. All black people are badasses. A lot of white people are afraid of black people just because the stereotypes of all black people are badasses. And stereotypes are some shit that started because someone seen someone do something and just assumed it just because this black person does it, then all black people do it. So black people were thieves, thugs, gangsters, drug dealers, and we smoked the fuck out of some goddamn weed and all the other shit. And on the flip side, Chinese people are martial art badasses that'll kill you with one finger or a ballpoint pen, and they smoke a lot of fucking opium. And then we have white people who are all rich and glorious, and we all look up to them and want to live on their level. And then you have people from another country who comes in and we look up to them on their level. And everybody's trying to live on a level that they just can't obtain. And why can we not obtain it? Because of fucking racism. That's why. Black people want to be white. Some white people want to be black until they're pulled over by the cops. Then they're white again, so they can get out of trouble. And black people, when you get pulled over by the cops, it's just there's no fucking way in hell for you, because if your ass is brown, you're going down. It's just that simple. Here's the problem with that. None of that shit I just said is 1,000% true. I don't know too many white people who want to be black and then want to go back to being white when they're pulled over by the cops. I don't know anybody like that. I really don't. I also don't give a fuck. Because here's the thing. The law itself doesn't discriminate. It's the motherfuckers that are enforcing the law that have discretion. How much they choose to use also depends on how much of a dick you are when they pull you over. You know? And I haven't really seen this with white people. I only can explain my experience with cops. Alright? I've bumped into some good black cops. I bumped into some good white cops. I bumped into some bad white cops. I bumped into some good white cops. I may have just said that. So let me explain. I'm going to give you a story. When I was a kid, because I'm 40s now, I'm still a kid to some people, but for me, being in your 20s is still a kid. I was 20-something years old, and I was driving to Richmond. I didn't know my way to Richmond outside of 250. Where I would meet my father at Short Pump, and he would guide me in. When I got well enough that I could drive on my own to my father's in Richmond, it wasn't a problem. Now, leaving Richmond on the way home, for the first few times, I never drove 64 because I didn't know how to drive 64. It wasn't safe, but I also know that the speed limit on 64 was 65 miles an hour. Now it's 70, but back then it was fixed 65 miles an hour. The speed limit on 250, which my ignorant ass assumed was the same as it was on 64, because when you're driving down 250, it's like miles down the fucking road before you fucking see a speedometer sign. My dumb ass on the way home thought the same thing. You don't know when the hell you're gonna see a speed limit sign, so roll the same shit you do on 64. I drove 55 on 64 when I had to, when traffic stopped. Now 55 is 250, but on 64 it's 65 miles an hour. So on 250 I drove 65 miles an hour. And then I got pulled over by a black cop from Goochland, a good black cop, who let me drive 55 all the way back from Goochland to Zion's Crossroads. He said if my speedometer went 1 mile over 55, he was going to arrest me and drag my ass back to Goochland. I drove 55 miles an hour, panicking like a motherfucker, making sure that I'm praying to God the whole time that that needle does not go 1 mile over 55. The lesson in that was, it was Christmas. The black cop gave me a break. I've had the same experience with white cops. And more often than not, except for the white cop that gave me a ticket because I had long hair, and I guess he thought I was a chick when he swears that I went through a yellow light when the light was not yellow, the light was green. And he let me go 2 blocks before he decided to give me a ticket. And thank you to that judge because I didn't have to pay the ticket. I'll explain that in a second. I don't want to get too deep because I don't want to have to make a third video if I can help it. The white cops, they have given me breaks. I've gotten breaks from 2 cops. One cop saved my ass from going to jail. The other cop, he unhandcuffed us because of my cousin's cousins fighting over a cigarette. But here's the thing. I didn't comply. I was gonna die. So I complied. You know, I got 5 guys with us. We're in handcuffs because these 2 idiots are fighting over a cigarette. The other 3 of us, we didn't do anything wrong. We just happened to be the right people at the right place at the wrong time. Something my father always told me. If you comply with the cop, you got a better chance of going home tonight or spending the night in jail than being found in an alley some damn where because you did the dumb black thing. Alright, that's right, the dumb black thing. The thing that they don't teach our kids these days, the things that you need to learn right now by watching this video. If you do what the cop says, 9 times out of 10, you won't even get handcuffed. You won't even be detained that long. Just comply. 9 times out of 10, most cops want to let you go home because they don't want to have to spend 3 extra hours that they didn't have to spend writing up the fucking report. You know, if the report is short, yeah, I pulled over 3 guys. They were being lewd. I gave them a warning. Report's done. That's not even a whole page. Alright? But if you want to break ass and start scuffling with the cop, you know, he got to spend 3 extra hours writing this shit down. Now that makes him even madder so that the next time somebody black does something, we're going to get your fucking results. So thank you very much for doing the dumb black thing. When you can just comply. Now unless you got a warrant or you've done something or you have a record, then you won't have any worries. If you are a delinquent and you know you're a delinquent and you're always causing problems, then why do you think the cops are always treating you badly? Because you're a fucking delinquent and you do shit. It's got nothing to do with the color of your skin. But what you fail to understand is that the color of your skin reflects you and all of your people. So if you're one of those black people who do the dumb black thing, it was like, oh, I'm gonna buck up at this motherfucker. Yeah, fuck the cops, fuck this shit. I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. That action right there just cost some young black man his life. Because what you do reflects all of us. So if you're gonna do the dumb black thing, buck up and try to swell up and be jactified up against the cops and try to make a pointless stand, you're fucking your fellow black man. Whenever the cops have pulled me over, I have complied. Every time. Now back to the story about the ticket and the judge. The Blue Robin or Red Robin, not the Red Robin, there's a Bluebird Cafe in a church. I went through that light. The cop said I went through a yellow light. It's not against the law to go through a yellow light. Except the problem was, my light was fucking green. Because me and another car passed side by side. Now, the cop comes after me. I got my little ponytail. It was longer than this, by the way. It's probably another reason why I had to cut that bitch. So, Greyhound was Trailways at the time. By the Sacagawea statue. 2 blocks. Mind you, 2 blocks before I got my ticket. Legal blocks. You know, not like the whole big block. Legally, a block is an intersection. Alright? So, if I go through a light right here, and there's another light right here, that, by the way, I was stopped at, because it was right by the bread store. That's a block. Then I go to another block. There's lights there now, but there wasn't lights there then. Where Sacagawea is, where there's basically a fork in the road. It goes to the right, you go past Trailway, you take a right, and you go on that way. And you go to the left, you go on back downtown, and all the other stuff. and you go by the Omni, you go by the U.S. Marshals Building, and all that other shit. All right, so I stopped at that second light. I went through the green light. I stopped at the second light next to the ABC store, next to the bread place, and all that. Because technically, by the ABC store, that's another block. There's a stop sign right there. So technically, it was 3 blocks, but legally, we're gonna say it was 2 blocks. Plus, I stopped at a red light. So when I got to the stop at the Sacagawea statue and took the right, and then I got to driving, he pulls me. And the first thing he does when I get into the firehouse right over the bridge there, because that was the only place I could pull over at, he pulls me over and he goes, "Hey ma'am, did you know you ran that red light?" I said, "First off, I'm a sir. Second off, the light was green." He said, "Well, third off, here's your ticket. I ran you. You don't have any record. I thought you were a woman." I said, "Well, obviously you didn't run my plates all the way through, because it should say Arlene Rose and James Williams, because I was young at the time and the car was under her name and mine." So when we got the stuff right, I said, "Well, I'll just go pay it." So we got to court, and the judge asked me if I wanted to contest the ticket. And I told the judge, I said, "What's the point? You got a white man pulling over a black man. I'm going to go and pay this damn ticket." He's like, "Why do you not want to contest the ticket?" I said, "Because he's white and I'm not. And it's going to be a big-ass problem. If I just pay the ticket, the problem goes away." The judge didn't see it that way. And I didn't have to pay the ticket. And he asked me, and this was before I got in trouble with serial rapists and shit. He asked me, he's like, "Why do you feel that way?" I said, "I don't feel that way. That's the way it is. When you're black and you're pulled over, if you pay the ticket, the problem goes away. Everybody's happy except for the guy that came out of the money. And the court's paid, the court fine is paid, the ticket is paid. I can get to go on about my life. I got a couple of points on my driver's license." And the judge said, "Do you feel like that all the time?" And I said, "Yes, sir. Because as a 23-year-old man, no matter what I do, because I'm colored, I'm wrong." The judge threw the case out. He said, "We watched the footage, and you are correct. Your light was green. So technically, if you fought the case, you could have won that. Because we do go through the body cams," and they didn't have body cams, but they had the dash cams. They said the only way that man could have ever seen you was he'd had been pulling out. Now this is where the cop pretty much shot himself in the foot. He ain't open up his mouth, he ain't say shit. But from his vantage point, and sometimes I guess I had the best judge ever that day, from where he was sitting at, because I seen him, he didn't see me, but he claims he saw me go through the goddamn light. Which I went through the light, but his car was back so far that there was no way he could see over the brick wall at the cafe next to the Bluebird Cafe. The judge knew of that place, obviously. Because there's no place right there that you can park. You have to be coming out. So I didn't pay the ticket. I walked out there and gave my sister the money that I borrowed to pay the ticket back. But the point of the matter is, I complied. The other 2 times where I got saved by cops, or better, didn't have to do too much, I got a ticket because of Puffy Amiyumi. That one's on me. I outwardly admit I was speeding, and the cop knew I was speeding. He seen me. He's like, "I know you don't know that you were speeding because I seen your head bopping when you came around the corner and you went over the speed limit." I honestly never looked at that speed limit. I was singing Puffy Amiyumi right along, riding in my little yellow car, just jamming. Head just a bopping. Never looked at that speedometer. Just kept driving. When he stepped out in the street and started flagging me over, I knew I had done something wrong. So when I talked to the cop, he straight up told me, "Look, I don't want to give you this ticket, young man. But we're going to have to make a third video." So he's a white cop, and he said, "I got to give you this ticket because you're 5 miles over the 5-mile speed limit. So basically, I'm not going to write you a reckless ticket, but I'm going to give you this speeding ticket." So I paid the ticket. I had to pay that ticket. There was no conflict with me and the cop. He was a motorcycle cop, and I was wrong. Then the other time with my stolen car incident, the K9 cop saved my ass from going to jail. I had got hit in the face, eyes cut, bleeding, pissed the fuck off, But again, I complied with the cop, so I didn't have too much to worry about. Once I found out the car was stolen, I won't fight no goddamn mo. I just, handed the handcuffs. When you are colored, your actions reflect all colored actions. Now, unless you're like in the foreign countries like Japan and China and shit like that, where when they get on their country, they don't have foreigners that are there causing problems. And so when they come on the country, the news, something goes wrong, they have to deal with tsunamis and their own people doing shit. But here in America, everybody of color, specifically black people, when something goes wrong, the first thing we do when we cut on the news is say, God, don't let that person be black, because it's only going to fuck us up even more. So this is why I brought that up before I go into the third video, which I'm going to have to do. We don't want to sit down in a room and address what makes people racist. We don't want to sit down and talk about how all Native Americans should love corn and horses. Here's a half-breed who does not like corn or horses. Alright, I'm dreadfully afraid of horses and I fucking hate corn. Alright, or excuse me, let me be Native Americanly correct. Maize. I don't like corn or maize. I don't like that shit. Not on the cob, not in the can, none of that shit. And as far as horses are concerned, I think I'll walk. I think I'll walk 1,000 miles before I ride a horse. Somebody would have to knock me out and literally drape me over the top of that horse because I'm scared of fucking horses. I was bit by a horse as a child, and that's the end of that subject right there. Now let's get into more stereotypes. Chinese people eat cats. Chinese people love rice. Black people love fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy. Half that might be true. Half of it might not be true. Some motherfuckers might go vegan just like everybody else. I'm not going vegan. I like my chicken. And I like my potatoes. I ain't got to necessarily have that goddamn gravy, but I like my chicken. I like my potatoes. Not that hard of a concept to swallow. I don't know a lot of white stereotypes because we never really dove that deep into white people in my family. We don't do that. And for Chinese stereotypes, unfortunately, some have been proven to be somewhat true, which is how stereotypes begin in the first place. Stereotypes are like myth and legends. There's a kernel of truth in all of them. Now let me explain the rice thing with Asians. A lot of Asian countries can only produce rice or fish. So that's all they have. Now, as for the cat thing, the Chan house speaks for itself. Way back when I was in the beginning of middle school and the Chan house was shut down because the cats were in the barrel. Honestly, I don't know if the people who ran the Chan house were even Chinese. Chan is a Chinese last name, but that does not mean the people who ran the Chinese restaurant were Chinese. But because them being Asian and most people not being able to tell one Asian culture from another, whether it be Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Filipino, who am I missing? Laos, Indians with the dots, since most people can't tell them apart anyway, it's an Asian stereotype. So everybody assumes that all Asian people like rice cakes and eating cats. It's bullshit, but that's how stereotypes begin. Stereotypes lead to racism. There's a very thin line between a stereotype and a racism. It really is. How many of you have heard that, alright, ladies forgive me, that Asian vaginas are sideways? Don't ask me, I'm not going there, but it's a stereotype. There may be 1 in 1,000 women who are of Asian descent that can prove that to be true. I don't know. I don't care. If I'm getting that and it happens to look that way, so be it. I'm not going to share that with the world, but there you go. Now, there are all different kinds of stereotypes that have led to racist events. Alright? Stereotypes lead to racism. Racism won't be addressed because no one wants to sit in the room and hear our fears. I'm going to end this video and begin the third video with that. Fears. Thank you for giving me 20 minutes of your life.